Hi, my name is Bob Brennaman. I'm a realtor in Mount Pleasant, and today we're going to get in the car and I'm going to drive you from South Mount Pleasant all the way up to North Mount Pleasant, and we're going to just kind of ride through an area in South Mount Pleasant that I like, show you some commercial space around it, ride to Central Mount Pleasant, do the same thing, and then we're going to finish up in North Mount Pleasant. And I hope this video is helpful if you're researching the area. All right, guys, so we are pulling into Ion, and we're in South Mount Pleasant, really close to the Ravenel Bridge. And we're going to just take you through here, kind of show you what has happened since the early 1990s is when Ion came out of the ground. So you've got commercial in the front of the neighborhood, as you're seeing as we're kind of pulling through here. And there are about, I want to say 646 homes inside of Ion, about 330 acres total. This neighborhood has done nothing but appreciate. Even during the downturn in the economy in like '08 and we had the housing crash, there were very few foreclosures or short sales or anything back here. So it holds up really well. And you'll see as we kind of go through here this morning, the reasons that it kind of holds up very well. It's just architecturally, it's very pretty. And the proximity to downtown Charleston, I think, is what really sets this neighborhood apart besides the architecture. And we've done this, we've been through here before, and if you watched our videos in the past, you've seen us shoot, we've had listings back here obviously, and we've done some of these driving tours, but this is an updated one, and hopefully you'll be able to share a little more information maybe I haven't shared in the past about Ion. So a little commercial there. I think it's called Bakey's or something like that, and it's a little bake shop. So we're going to wait for this dump truck to get by us, and then we're going to get over to the lakes. So if there is a downside to Ion, I mean, I don't really think this would be a big downside, but is this is the main road. We're on Shellmore. And you can see as we're coming through here, there is, it can be a little tight. I always tell everybody though, Ion is a great neighborhood to walk, and you can come back here, so, it's not private. So you can, these are public sidewalks and public streets, and you may get a different feel because, sometimes I'll take people back here and they're like, this feels kind of tight. Everybody loves the look for sure, but some people feel like it's tight. And I always think that if you're trying to evaluate this neighborhood, a lot of times being in a car makes it feel closer together than what it actually is. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as we go through here. So Guild of Builders built this. It's really built out. I think maybe there's one or two lots potentially. They'd be insanely expensive, but and they've been resold multiple times. So this is really built out. A lot of the highest end builders in Charleston have built back here over the decades that Ion has been being built out. And, probably I'm hoping as we're riding through here, seeing just the architectural style, how appealing it is to so many people, including me. And, it's a good hedge if you like the older looking architecture. Again, these houses are no older than the early to mid 1990s, and some of them were built, here recently, probably 2015, 2020 range. Okay, so we're pulling up, and you can see East Lake and West Lake. We'll pass by these two lakes that kind of the neighborhood is built around, and just it's gorgeous. I think very expensive. So this is always is not a neighborhood for everybody's price point, and you're probably looking in on the best day, $1 million to get in here, and that's would be take a little bit of probably looking to find something. Most of these homes are multi-million-dollar houses, but again, if you have the coin for it, I think that you'd be buying in a neighborhood that is held up very well, even in the worst of real estate markets, and would be just a great place to call home. I know the people I've helped buy houses back here have not moved out of Ion, and I've been doing this for I think almost 25 years now. So we're sliding by, and we're going to go over the little bridge. So the thing that I do, another thing I like about Ion, you know, besides the lakes, is the way they've borrowed from, you know, different cities throughout the world, whether, you know, Copenhagen, Denmark, some other European cities have been, this neighborhood has been modeled after it. They've even modeled after some of the streets streets in Boston and in some of the historic parts of New York. So there's a lot of influence of other cities into the way Ion was built. And I always tell everybody, I think I've said it before in these videos, is that there's an old YouTube video. Vince Graham is the lead developer, the guy who kind of came up with this, and he put up a video, I mean, it's been decades ago, of him pitching the town of Mount Pleasant on it. It's very informative about the way that he, you know, brought everything together. And you can kind of see out down there the canals that connect East Lake and West Lake and the little houses that line up over them. So definitely a beautiful spot. But very tight back here today. A lot of construction work. So with the houses being the age that they are, oftentimes you find that people are doing full renovations and gutting these houses and redoing the insides to kind of match up what they want today. So we're gonna, you know, there's, to point out the other things that are back here that we won't see. There's a boat dock in the back of the neighborhood, and you know, there's miles and miles of walking trails that kind of run through the bird sanctuary, which is right beside us to the left. You can't see it from the car, but there's a bird sanctuary right in the center, and all these trails kind of interconnect around the neighborhood, and then they feed you back into the front part of the neighborhood, which we came into, where the commercial and all that stuff is. So as we head out of here, you know, there's a lot of neighborhoods in South Mount Pleasant. You know, a couple more that I really like would be Old Village and Old Mount Pleasant, and we've done videos on those you can watch. Old Park, which is adjacent to where we are right now, so it kind of ties into Ion. Old Park, very similar architecture, but much bigger lots. And Hobcaw Creek, which is just down the road from us, a great old neighborhood with a yacht club and everything. So definitely worth checking out. And I say with all these videos, you can call or text me at 843-345-6074, and you know, I can personalize suggestions for neighborhoods that fit your price point and your goal. So again, you know, as we ride through these three areas of Mount Pleasant rather, we're going to look at today, you know, South Mount Pleasant, where we are now, Central, and North Mount Pleasant. There's a lot of neighborhoods, and you know, for the sake of time, we can't shoot them all, so we're going through them. Again, I'm happy to talk to you about anything related to these neighborhoods and can give you good suggestions. The thing that I wanted to show you about South Mount Pleasant is what's around it, and we'll do this in the other places we're going to go to, but I want to kind of take you through some of the commercial, and then from there we will go on up to the central part of Mount Pleasant. But here we go. From here is right across the street to some good shopping, and we'll be there in just a minute. All right, y'all, so we just came across the street from Ion, and we're, you know, maybe, I don't know, a mile or so, and we're just going to pull through the Trader Joe's as soon as I can get in here. Of course, I'm getting blocked up a little bit because Trader Joe's is always busy, as it should be. I just wish we had more of these in Mount Pleasant. Of course we come in here. Okay, a little bit of car jockeying to get to where we need to be. And, you know, so right where we are right now, you know, again, very close to Ravenel Bridge. Directly behind Trader Joe's is Shem Creek. So, you know, that's a very popular area. And that's where Old Village and Old Mount Pleasant is. So very close to that. And, again, always popular. And, gosh, 11:18 in the morning, and Trader Joe's is jam-packed. All right, y'all, so we just down from Trader Joe's. We're going to spin through the area that has Whole Foods. You know, and I do this because, honestly, I've had people over the decades of doing this tell me that the reason they ended up moving here is because it had a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods. So hopefully that's some motivation for y'all that are watching this. Really like that restaurant to the right, so Melvin's, and we don't have a shot of it. Well, maybe we do. This restaurant right here, great place for a burger. I mean, one of the best cheeseburgers you can get at a drive-through window any place I've ever been. So I highly recommend that if you're over here. But this shopping center was the first shopping center I ever came to when I moved here, moved to Mount Pleasant 30 plus years ago. And it was a buy-low back then, and it's obviously since transitioned into Whole Foods. I really like the restaurant back here called Gray's, so I recommend that if you're in the neighborhood and you want to have a good place to have a sit-down lunch or dinner, both lunch or dinner, and they have a great brunch on Sundays. But again, Whole Foods Market right here in front of us, and we're drifting ever so close to downtown Charleston. I would say we're about a mile from the Ravenel Bridge at the moment. And so what we're going to do from here is we're going to head out of this parking lot, and we're going to show you, show you what is down here in South Mount Pleasant by these neighborhoods that we're talking about, and just give you a little bit of a look at the Ravenel. And we'll be down there in just a minute. All right, y'all, so we are just down from the Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, and we're literally as far as you can get south in Mount Pleasant. Patriots Point Golf Course is over to our left. You know, good golf course, pretty flat. It's a links course, so it should be. Beautiful vistas, not the best course in Mount Pleasant, but you know, if you're a golfer, I think you would enjoy it. And you can see to our left is part of the College of Charleston's baseball facility. Town of Mount Pleasant kind of uses some of the College of Charleston stuff, so you can, you know, if you're living here and your kids are playing rec sports, they have access for some of their games, and you know, there's soccer fields back there too that they use and share with the College of Charleston. And we're down by Patriots Point. The Rivertowne is down here. I don't know. I think I'm gonna probably turn around before we get too close to it. You know, if you're in Charleston, that's not a bad thing to do. If you want to have some, you know, do something different, the Rivertowne is a good way to look at the way sailors lived back in, I guess, the 1920s, 30s is probably when that ship was commissioned. So it's worth an afternoon, or a couple hours anyway. I don't know about an afternoon. And then at the very end of this road that we're on, and we won't go to the end of it, is a high-end 2 hotels and a very nice marina. So if you're wanting to find a place to have a cocktail and watch the sunset, the Patriots Point Marina is a good place to do that. So we're just going to turn back around, and we're going to spin through underneath the bridge, get you a little bit more of the Ravenel will be up on our left, and then we will make our way up to the central part of Mount Pleasant. But again, I want to get you just a little more look down here, because all this is, you know, if you live in Mount Pleasant, you have access to all this, and I think there's many great things about living in Mount Pleasant. One of them, you know, in my opinion, is all the public land and all the really pretty vistas, whether, you know, the parks in Shem Creek or the parks that are down here that we'll ride by in a minute, just give you the opportunity to, you know, have a lot of really pretty things to look at, laid back. And again, where we sit now in South Mount Pleasant, if you're, you know, wanting the best of Mount Pleasant, to me, hands down, South Mount Pleasant's the place to be. It's more expensive, but being able to get to downtown Charleston, there's a lot of upside in that, I think, for anybody. But you know, even if you live in North Mount Pleasant, you're still 30 minutes from downtown Charleston. Not a bad thing for most of y'all probably watching this video, or coming from big cities and, you know, are used to driving a long ways and sitting in traffic. So this is, you know, this is much easier to deal with. And you can kind of see, and we'll get it out here, the left-hand side in here in a minute. There's some high-end condos back to our left, and then Ravenel Bridge that goes into downtown Charleston is where we are at the moment. And there's a new Embassy Suites hotel that opened here recently, and they're continuing to just develop this part of South Mount Pleasant. All right, so we're wrapping up South Mount Pleasant, y'all. Again, lots to see, lots to talk about. I'm happy to, you know, take your questions. Just hit me up, text me, call me, whatever. And we're going to go to Central Mount Pleasant from here, and we'll be up there in a few minutes. All right, y'all. So we are right off of Rifle Range Road, and we've made our way up to the central part of Mount Pleasant. I'm going to take you through Hamlin Plantation, this neighborhood that kind of I'm featuring today, but I want to show you what commercial is around the areas that I'm highlighting the neighborhood in. So we are riding through Seaside Farms, and Seaside Farms is a great example, in my opinion, of what they've done with the new commercial. When I say new commercial in Mount Pleasant, stuff that's been built in the last 25 or 30 years. The town wants everything to kind of be hidden. So you wouldn't see this from the road. It's hidden behind a row of trees. There's a Target back here. There's also a hotel, and then shops and restaurants throughout Seaside Farms. And then a neighborhood by the same name is tied into this shopping center, which I really like. Seaside Farms, the neighborhood. We won't go through there today, but I will also point out one of the better restaurants in Mount Pleasant is the restaurant here on our left is Opal Restaurant, and any of his restaurants, any of Patrick Owens is the head chef and proprietor owner of Opal, and he owns Langdon's and Wooden Grain, and then a kind of a Tex-Mex place that he recently opened. So I highly recommend that if you're in Charleston or Mount Pleasant and wanting to find a good place to eat. There's also a grocery store back here. Again, we won't ride by the grocery store. I just, again, wanted you to kind of see how this commercial sets up. And the road we're coming up on is the Isle of Palms connector. So very close to the beach. We won't go out there today. Hopefully we're going to get back in the car soon and do an updated video of Isle of Palms and Sullivan's, and we'll take you out there at some point. But one of the other pluses to being in Mount Pleasant, I think, is a place to live, is access to the beaches, because you've got the Isle of Palms to our right and then Sullivan's Island right next to it. So, really easy to access. And even as, Charleston grows and more people are showing up here, and, the beaches are getting more crowded, nothing like what most of y'all are used to experiencing in, some of the bigger places around the United States with beaches. So right up from here, I'm going to take you in the town center, and we're going to look at some of the commercial from there, and then we're going to go up into Hamlin. All right, guys, so we made our way over from Seaside Farms, and we're just going to run through the town center, not to be confused with the center of town. It's just it's the name of the shopping complex, and it is central as we're riding through central Mount Pleasant, and again showing you the commercial spaces around Hamlin Plantation, which we're going to drift up to here in a minute to ride you through that neighborhood. So up in this section, besides having a Lowe's, home improvement store, movie theater, some decent restaurants. I mean, I would say the one thing that Mount Pleasant probably lacks a little bit is great restaurants, and it's improving. And I worked in the food business when I was in college. So I'm kind of I don't want to say a food snob, but I'm a critic about food, and I think the food scene in Mount Pleasant could be better. But there are good restaurants, like I mentioned earlier. Opal, great restaurant. Any of Patrick Owens' restaurants are phenomenal. And Grimaldi's Pizza here on our left is actually a pretty decent spot. Cava, I think, is like is a chain. And this place, the First Watch, is pretty good. It's pretty expensive for breakfast, but it's, if you're looking for breakfast in Mount Pleasant, it's not a bad place to go check out. And then you can see, we're just going to spin through here, let y'all get a little bit more of a look of what's back here. Your Lululemon, some of your more high-end retail brands, all inside of town center. All right, y'all, so we are going to head on up to Hamlin Plantation. And again, this is Central Mount Pleasant. We're going to show you a little bit more about what's around here as we go. All right, guys, so we made our way up from the town center and Seaside Farm shopping up to the neighborhood that I want to feature today, which is Hamlin Plantation. And Hamlin Plantation's probably been around since maybe late 90s. A lot of it was built in the mid 2000s. And it's a John Whelan neighborhood. And we're right off of Rifle Range Road, so just to tie back in, we're going north, Highway 17's out to our left, and we're going to, again, drop in here, ride through here, show you a little bit about Hamlin Plantation, and then we'll make our way up to the north part of Mount Pleasant. Okay, y'all, so we're slowly making our way back into to Hamlin Plantation. We're on Hamlin Plantation Parkway, and I'm going to take you through by the amenity center. So there's a lot of good amenities in these neighborhoods, especially the ones that John Whelan developed. He was always very smart about building a good amenity center and then building the neighborhood out around it. So I think, whether it's here, Dunes West, and Brickyard Plantation is another neighborhood that he developed some years ago. But you can see, Hamlin Plantation Club, pool, fitness, and tennis. Behind the big white building is a junior Olympic sized swimming pool with a pretty cool water slide. And you can see on this, and it may be helpful if, is all of this out here is the Atlantic Ocean. We're this red arrow on the map, but very close to, to Hamlin Sound, and then again on out to the ocean. Tennis courts, a couple of them you can't really see from the car because they're back behind trees. There's a small fitness center in here, not something you probably would use every single day, but if you, didn't feel like going to the gym and leaving the neighborhood, that would be an option. Small little playground area. And this big white building is something it's not staffed. So you could have, your kids' parties there, you could have, a Christmas party, whatever, and, rent it out. And it's fairly inexpensive if if you're a resident inside of Hamlin Plantation. All of the amenities that we're kind of riding through and looking at are part of your homeowners association. So you're looking at about $1,100 a year, covers all the amenities I just rattled off, holiday decorations, and just of the exterior of the neighborhoods, and that's what it covers. So it's a pretty good deal if you if you want access to a pool. I think these big neighborhoods are good ways to go. And I want to take you back here and show you just a little bit of the architecture. And y'all bear with me as we make our way back to the section I'm going to show you. Okay, y'all, so I'm going to take you through, again, we're in Hamlin Plantation, multiple subsections, and subsection is just a neighborhood inside a neighborhood. The Sound is the subsection I'm getting ready to ride you through. The reason it's called the Sound is because it backs up to Hamlin Sound. This subsection inside of Hamlin Plantation, all these houses are going to be on much bigger lots than what you're going to see in some of the other sections like Waverly at the front of the neighborhood. You're going to see those to be a little bit smaller lots. So we won't go through those today just for the sake of time, but just keep in mind as we're riding through here, I'm taking you through the part of Hamlin Plantation that's going to have the biggest lots. And these are about a third of an acre to sometimes half an acre. They back up to a lot of ponds. And one of the questions I get asked a lot of times when I'm riding people through here, or they were asking me in phone calls when they call me, is, are these houses elevated because of flood? And the answer to that is yes and no. because you can see over to our left, and I'll see if you can, Jason can shoot over here. So this house to the left is basically, up on a crawl space, and then the house on the right, and most of these through here are elevated houses. The reason they're elevated is where you can park underneath it. It's a low country style house. Is this to our right, architectural style, and that's very popular. I would say if I was going to buy a house that I wanted to resell easily, the elevated low country style house is probably the best one you can buy. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's in a flood zone. It just means it's just our architectural style for a lot of what's here in Mount Pleasant. So we'll spin through here, and we're going to go from here, as we'll go out of this neighborhood. Again, there's other neighborhoods in central Mount Pleasant that I would, certainly recommend. Brickyard Plantation, Seaside Farms, Snee Farm, all good, centrally located neighborhoods. And you can call or text me at 843-345-6074. And I can offer personalized suggestions for neighborhoods that fit your price point and kind of your goals. So, if you're watching this video and you want suggestions that are in a price range you're looking in, I'm happy to do that. And you certainly can get in touch with me by phone call or text. All right, y'all, so we are heading into Oakland Plantation. We just left Hamlin Plantation. So this is a shopping area. Hamlin Plantation was a neighborhood, but this is a big outdoor shopping, very similar to the town center, similar to Seaside Farms as far as the architectural look of the shopping, and we'll get up here and you'll get a little bit better look at it. You've got a super Walmart, you've got a Kohl's back here, which, my gosh, shoot me if I had to work at a Kohl's. And if you're watching this and you work at Kohl's, I'm not dissing Kohl's, but I go in there to return Amazon stuff sometimes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this has got to be the most dead environment. It's just, I guess that's the way it is with everybody uses Amazon, or at least I do. So turning in here, if we kept going, this would take us on up towards Charleston National. This is actually a good little access road that runs behind Oakland Plantation. You can use to divert yourself off of Highway 17. And again, you can kind of see the upscale shopping. It's nice and well manicured. And East Bay Deli here on the right, it was in downtown Charleston for decades, and it's a pretty good place for lunch if you're, wanting something kind of low key. I also like the New York Butcher Shop, which we have, I guess, about 4 of these in Mount Pleasant now. So if you're needing some really good high-end Butcher Shop products, recommend that. And then up here on the corner is probably one of my favorite little go-to spots is Bon Bon Me, and it's Vietnamese and French kind of a sandwich shop, so definitely worth checking out. Whoops, don't want to get in a wreck. So this is taking us right back out to 17, and again, this is cut back behind trees. You're not going to see a lot of this from the road, but it's like a lot of commercial, like I mentioned earlier, is kind of well hidden. And from here, we're going to go into a neighborhood called Rivertowne, and this is what we'll do as far as going into a place in North Mount Pleasant, and I'll show y'all some commercial as we get up there. All right, y'all, so we have made our way up Highway 41, and we are turning off of it to go into Rivertowne. This is going to be our, our North Mount Pleasant area that we're going to kind of highlight, and again, we'll ride through here, show you a little bit of Rivertowne, and then we'll look at some of the commercial stuff before we wrap things up. But Rivertowne is probably dates back to, I would say, the mid-90s as far as when it started to be developed. The houses along here, this stretch of road, and we're on Rivertowne Parkway, these houses were built probably 2007 to probably 2012. A lot of Charleston singles, the double front porches. There's different subsections inside of Rivertowne, and not all of them are going to look like this. this is a good looking style of architecture. There's also, and hopefully we'll ride through it, there'll be some houses that are built back here that look like they could be in Atlanta or be, you could fill in the blanks. It's not always, let's not hit the lady on the golf cart, Bob. Not everything is this architectural style inside of Rivertowne. So there's two parts to Rivertowne. There's Rivertowne Country Club, which I'm going to ride y'all through because we're just what I'm going to do today. And then there's Rivertowne on the Wando. Rivertowne on the Wando, very water-oriented part of Rivertowne, and there's some docks back there, and it's a nice amenity center that's on the river. I like that section. Older houses, and a lot of them built by production builders, like D.R. Horton built a lot back there in the day. So some of them are going to need definitely some updates. But again, we're going to take you into to Rivertowne Country Club and give you a little peek of what's back here. You don't have to be, a lot of these golf course communities, at least in other parts of the country, from what I've heard from talking to people over the years, you move into the golf course community, you have to belong to the golf course. You do not have to be a member of Rivertowne. You're part of the Rivertowne Homeowners Association just by, living back here. And when you pay your homeowners dues, you get access to the neighborhood amenities, the pool. There's some day docks and whatnot. But the golf course is kind of a standalone. And definitely, if you're a golfer, I love Rivertowne. I think it's probably the hardest course in Mount Pleasant. If I was ranking the courses, it would be, as far as easiness, Dunes West is an easy course, wide open fairways. Then probably Patriots Point, which we shot at the beginning of this video, and then Rivertowne would probably be. And Sneak Farm's nice. We were right by Sneak Farm when we were in South Mount Pleasant earlier, but I do like Rivertowne. Arnold Palmer designed golf course, and we'll get y'all a little bit of a view of it here in just a second as we're coming around this curve. You should have a little bit of view of the golf course. Great weather for golf today. And this golf course, very quick greens and a lot of water and marsh to hit over. So if you're not a strong golfer like me, I mean, I'm not a good golfer. I've been playing since I was 10, but I'm still a hack. This golf course can definitely be difficult, but a lot of fun and really pretty vistas of the backside of Daniel Island and Wando River views. So we're going to get up here just a little bit further. I'm going to show you where the club is, and then we will head out of Rivertowne and go to some commercial that's tied into this part of Rivertowne. As we're riding through here, I would, and give me just a second. I wanted to point out there's other neighborhoods in North Mount Pleasant. Obviously, we're not going to get into all of them today. The other ones, I kind of mentioned Dunes West earlier. There's Carolina Park, and there's Park West. Those are the three main and big neighborhoods located in North Mount Pleasant. And again, if you want me to personalize some suggestions for you about neighborhoods, whether it's north, south, or central Mount Pleasant, I'm happy to do that. And you can call me or text me at 843-345-6074. And I'm again happy to give you any information that I have. So you really won't be able to see it because we're in the car, but the backside of where the club sits, which is kind of coming, it should be coming into view here in a second, overlooks the backside of the Wando River and on out to Daniel Island. They have a couple restaurants in there and really just great vistas of the marsh and kind of the low country look. All right, again, for the purpose of being concise, we're gonna kind of roll out of here. Again, just wanted to point out this one neighborhood, North Mount Pleasant. And again, like I mentioned, there's plenty of other ones. But from here, we're gonna go check out the commercial that surrounds this neighborhood and really kind of services the north part of Mount Pleasant. And we'll be to it very soon. All right, guys. So we went back into Rivertowne, and again wanted to, as a help to y'all, show you kind of where the commercial ties into it. So we are going to, not even leave the neighborhood, and we're going to be into a shopping area with the Harris Teeter. I don't know if you're not from here, you probably never heard of Harris Teeter, but it's a North Carolina branded grocery store, high end, and they're scattered throughout Mount Pleasant. And the one that we're going to ride by here is mainly made with recycled materials. It's some research I uncovered a couple of years ago. But the Rivertowne Public House is up here on the left. It's a good place to get wings and have a beer, watch ball games. You've got a Starbucks up here that's tied into the grocery store. I think I don't. Like I had to stop there, but oh well. Not the first time I've gotten an ugly look from another driver. So literally across the road from where we are is another small shopping complex, and we're gonna hop out of this neighborhood, or hop out of this part of Rivertowne, and go right across the street. I'm gonna show you all that before we go and look at Carolina Park's shopping complex, which is, again, very close to where we are in Rivertowne. Is Carolina Park, and Dunes West is literally right across the street. Okay, we're continuing up 41, and Rivertowne Country Club is right behind us. Right across and down the road is this little shopping center I'm going to run you through. It's got a Lowe's grocery store, not to be confused with Lowe's and Home Improvement. It's just a Lowe's Foods is, I'm not sure where it's based out of, but it's kind of interesting. There's a bar in here, so you can get a cocktail, beer, glass of wine, and do your shopping. And they actually have a pretty decent butcher shop for, sometimes the grocery store butcher shops are, if you're used to having a high-end butcher shop, a lot of grocery stores don't really meet that need. But Lowe's actually has some really good dry-aged beef that they do on site. So if you're wanting a good steak, it's not a bad place to potentially look up. And then they're kind of building this out. I mean, there's more of it back behind. I'm going to pull you through here again just to let you kind of see, what the shopping does look like potentially in some of the restaurants. But they're building it even further out. And to give you some perspective on where we are, and I don't know if you can get this shot, or we'll do this. We'll pull through here, and then I'll get you a shot of the map. Okay, so if we went right, y'all, that would take us back over the Wando River and onto Daniel Island. But we're not going to do that today. But that's, if you live out here in Dunes West, or you live in Park West or Carolina Park, and you need to get to North Mount Pleasant, or to North Charleston rather, that's not a bad place to go that way, to take you down Clements Ferry Road. So we are into the Costco shopping center. And this is Carolina Park that you're seeing as we ride through here. Again, Costco, there's shops and restaurants tied into it. We're getting more and more places out here to eat. Wando High School is here, Carolina Park Elementary, all tied into this area that y'all are looking at right now. And, the long-term play of this north part of Mount Pleasant, I think, is very strong, because they continue to just develop the commercial and make it a really good place to call home. All right, that's a wrap, y'all. Again, if you like our videos, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch a ton of videos about Mount Pleasant that I've shot over the years by checking out our YouTube channel. And if you have questions, you can always call or text me at 843-345-6074. You can check out our website for all of Charleston, which is BrennamanGroup.com. Until next time, y'all.